The Philadelphia Eagles had the NFL's #1 dropback rate on Sunday. They went 82% pass, which was 20% above the NFL average. This is despite the fact that in the game's first 52 minutes, they only trailed for 6 minutes. They led the vast majority of the rest of the game. And yet Saquon Barkley had only 6 total rushing attempts. This was despite the fact that the percentage of total snaps with 7+ box defenders was only 53% on the day. They were in shotgun 96% of their snaps. Very predictable with the way that they came out and tried not to disguise anything against this Denver Broncos defense. Saquon Barkley's only runs last week were on 1st and 10, 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 6. That's it. I mean, we're talking about a rushing attack that had explosiveness in the past. Saquon did have a 17-yard run on the day and instead goes 82% pass despite leading the vast majority of this game. And it's not like the passing attack was lighting the world on fire either. We had Jalen Hurts with a 60% completion rate, which ranked 23rd among quarterbacks yesterday. They had a 22nd rated success rate. There was not a single statistic from a passing perspective where this team was in the top 10 yesterday. Now, I am not one to really advocate for run-heavy approaches, nor do I think the Philadelphia Eagles want to have a run-heavy approach. Most teams don't. But the fact of the matter is, when you've got a guy like Saquon Barkley, you cannot give him just 6 rushing attempts in a game where you're leading the vast majority of that game and be upset with the results if your opponent ends up coming back to win that game. Passing with Jalen Hurts in the lead of a game is not what you really want to be doing in 2025 because this passing attack really hasn't established that cohesion and that chemistry and that ability to win games late. We're talking about like Patrick Mahomes throwing short underneath passes to win games because their run game's very inefficient, and that's the way the Kansas City Chiefs have to operate at times. That's not the way that Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles should necessarily look to operate. So I don't hate the fact that you're leaning into the pass, but this was an egregious lean all the way into the pass, which ended up coming back to bite the Philadelphia Eagles and costing them in this game. They need to figure out this offensive approach. It seems to be too wonky and too shifty from a week-to-week basis. You get the wide receivers complaining about a lack of passing and lack of targets. We're going to throw them the ball a ton and throw a ton of passes down the field the next week. This week, when they're going up against their opponent in week 6, my guess is they lean way too much into the run game because they didn't run the ball enough last week. What you have here is an internal hire of an offensive coordinator that I just don't think is working out. And I'm a little bit surprised about that because the same exact thing happened to Jeffrey Lurie's Eagles a few years ago when they promoted from within and they saw the results there. The team was terrible when they were utilizing an offensive coordinator that was promoted from within. So what did they do? They went mercenary style outside the building, brought in Kellen Moore, won a Super Bowl. And now here they are, struggling to win against the Denver Broncos because of their play calling. Yes, on the positive, this team is 4-1. But on the negative, this offense isn't ranking well, isn't performing well, doesn't appear to have a clear plan offensively that is built to really disguise things, attack weaknesses of opponents, or something that's going to be able to gain long-term success here for them. They appear to be just skating by the skin of their teeth, and that's not really where you want to be 5 weeks into the season. I mean, in one sense, it's good that this team is winning a lot of those games where they're 50-50 and building for the future. But in another sense, we're nearing the time when this team's got to figure out what that offensive plan of attack is going to be. Something that they can rely on, something they can lean on, something they can depend on and feel good about. Right now, I don't think that there's very much that this Philadelphia Eagles offense feels good about inside of the building. And as a result, you're going to have that same level of confidence fall onto your quarterback and the execution of this offense in general. Now's the time that they better get things back on track quickly, effectively, efficiently, attacking weaknesses of opponents, trying to jump out to leads, but staying balanced and staying quite unpredictable. And these are a lot of things that this team used to be good at offensively, but isn't really focused on in 2025. If you aren't already, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications. On our Friday show, we drop our best bet of the week. I'm now 5-0 on those through 5 weeks. Looking to go to 6-0 this week. We're 27-9 since we started the show last year. Don't miss out. Subscribe over at Sharp Football Analysis.